I've been self-managing my rental property for about 7 years now, and there are some things that I have in place that help me to self-manage my property, and I'll share that in this video.
I have a total of 3 units. So the first thing I had were systems in place. And I know if you are already into real estate or looking into a rental property, I'm sure you hear that all the time. Have your systems in place. Have your systems in place. But in this video, I'm going to explain what my systems are that allows me to be able to self-manage my rental property at this time. So the first is definitely the system is how I manage the tenants. Whether that's tenant acquisition, tenant retention, tenant turnover. The second system that I'm managing is the building itself, the house, the maintenance, the repairs, and the things that have to go on with the actual physical building. And then the third system is going to be the money system. I would say let that be like the rent collection, or let that be the record keeping. So anything dealing with the money would be my third system. So these are the 3 main systems that I use, whether it be tenants dealing with the people, the system dealing with the building, or the system dealing with the money. That's just to simplify it. Okay, so depending on these 3 things right here would determine, I guess, how you were to self-manage. In addition, if you were to choose to self-manage or not. So the first one would be the number of units. Definitely plays a part in how you self-manage and if it's your choice to self-manage. I know if I had maybe 10 or more units, I would not self-manage. Anytime I can put the management outsource, I'm going to do that as long as I can find great management. The second is your desired involvement. So your desired involvement in the property will have a big factor on if you are going to choose to self-manage it or not. Even though you have systems in place, it still requires some of your time and some of your attention to manage the property. And then the third is your proximity to the property. Pretty much is how close are you to the property? Are you down the street where you can go check on it if you get a notification or a call or something that there's something going on that needs your attention right then? Are you miles and miles away where you need actual boots on the ground or somebody on that front that's able to be your pair of eyes on that property when you need it? So these 3 things definitely take into consideration when determining whether to self-manage your property or not and how you self-manage your property. Okay, so my first system dealing with the people. I said this is going to be your tenant acquisition, retention, and turnover. So for me, how I do my tenant acquisition is I do it a couple of ways. Most of the times when I am searching for a new tenant, I make a post and I put it on Craigslist. Craigslist has been one of the best sites for me in order to get tenants. And I know sometimes, Craigslist, you might think that's kind of shady. I like, rentals.com or apartments.com. But Craigslist has not done me wrong. And I've used it for over 7 years, not consecutively, because most of my tenants, they are long-term tenants. But when I've had to post and look for a new tenant, Craigslist was my number 1 spot. The second spot that I use, which it's not very known, but it has been helpful to me, is a site called AHRN. And I do not remember what it stands for, but it's pretty much a site where military people that are coming to a town or a city to work on a military base, it's a site for them to be able to check out the houses and the rental property that's in that area. So we are a military family. So most of the houses that I have, they're in military towns. And so this site has been very helpful to me in acquiring new tenants. And on another note of that, they're tenants that have jobs. So that's always a plus. Okay, now tenant retention. On that one, I just treat people right. That's really all I do, because I don't think this, to me, I have single family houses that I actively manage. And so for me, as long as I treat people right, I treat them humanely, I treat them as if they're people, and in turn, they treat my property right, and we don't really have issues. Now, granted, things do come up and things happen, but I'm more so into problem solving, not just lingering on what the problem is. So I don't stay in problem mode very long. So I say all that to say, for me being in the single family, not a big multi-family and apartment complex where they're just not all the time, but moving more frequently than people are moving from house to house, There's not much that I do in the tenant retention department other than treat people right. At one point, I did consider like giving a gift card at like Christmas or their renewals, but I didn't. And nobody said I'm moving out because you didn't give me a gift card or anything like that. But I just treat people right, and that has served me well. Now, for my tenant turnover, now there are times, the tenants, they're not in these homes forever. So there is a turnover period. So my system that I use for tenant turnover is it pretty much, I handle this kind of two ways. And I'll give you some examples to explain this, because I am not in the cities. And at one point I was not in the states that these homes were in. So the first example I'll give you is when I was not even in the state. So when I was not in the state, I asked she was a realtor. I asked her if my tenants could come and bring the keys to my house, to the rental property, to her real estate office, and she would hold them for me. It was her front desk representative would hold those keys until I had another tenant go to that real estate office and pick up the keys. Now, that was the only interaction she had with the house. Like I said, at that time, she is a realtor, and she does do property management. However, I was not using her skill set in that capacity during this time. I was only asking if the tenants could drop off the keys and the new tenants could pick up the keys from her location. And she said yes. And we didn't really talk compensation because it was something very, very small and very minor, but I did send her a thank you card with a gift card, in there, just to thank her for allowing me to do that, to use her office to facilitate that transaction. Okay, now with that same transaction, there was another thing I did. I had a friend that still lived in that state, and I just had that friend go over, look inside of the apartment, or the house, I should say, take pictures, let me know if there was any damage that stood out to them. So that was the other thing, and I did compensate that friend as well. I think I paid them maybe $25 to go and do that for me. And in addition to check out if there was any damage, I asked them to be the one to open up the door when I was showing the property to potential new tenants. And so when I was showing the property to potential new tenants, I told the tenants that there were going to be multiple people there at the same time looking at the property. So when I posted that property on Craigslist and I got the people, they responded saying they wanted to see it, I gave them a choice of 2 times. For example, I said, you can come Wednesday at 9 o'clock or you could come Friday at 11 o'clock. Which one works best for you? And usually they would tell me which of those 2. So those were like the showing times that I had. And during those showing times, I had multiple people coming into the property. And then I had the friend that I paid the $25 to open up the property and show them, not even show them. I pretty much told the friend, do not answer any questions. You're just here to open the door, allow them to see it. And if they have any questions to potential tenants, they are to contact me and send me their questions either in writing or call me to get the answers to those questions. Now, when I also posted the listing onto Craigslist, you can do attachments. So one of my attachments was my rental criteria. So the tenants that were looking at this house, they already knew what my rental criteria was. And then another attachment was the application. So if they saw the rental criteria and they saw the application, and then at this point, if they saw the home and they liked it, all they had to do was then go and fill in the application and then email it to me. There was no paperwork interaction between them and the person that I had to show the house. There was no paperwork interaction between them and the realtor's office that I used. Now, another example I have, this one is in state, just in another city. So on this particular property, I have a keypad on the property. So when tenants leave this property, they're able just to leave their keys inside of the property and have the keypad. And then when I get new tenants, I'm able to change that keypad on there. So I don't necessarily need somebody to pick up the keys or do a key transition. I just have the tenant pretty much take a picture of the keys, place it in the drawer, and then they're gone. And then the new tenant, when they come in, I'm able to give them the keypad. They put the code in, they go in, and they're able to pick up the keys. Now, for the one that I have that is in state but in a different city, this is a much newer home. And I say that to say that when there is tenant turnover, there is not much work to be done. I pretty much get the carpets cleaned. All right. And then the second system is the maintenance and repair, the things that have to deal with the building. So I have a handyman in place. So if there's anything that goes wrong with the property, I'm able just to call the handyman, and I already know what like their going rate coming out is going to be if I were to call them. And there's somebody that I trust. So and to finding handyman and maintenance and repair people, that could be challenging. But one thing that I've done is when I go to a place or when I'm buy a property in a place, I network with the other investors that are buying properties in this place. And I do that specifically with the goal to that sounds like I have a motive, but it's specifically to ask them, who would they recommend? Who do you recommend for AC repair? Who do you recommend for painting? Who do you recommend for carpet replacement? Anything, I'm asking for recommendations. And then when I find somebody let's say if I found an electrician, and I just think he's awesome. He's just on his job, like upstanding, comes when I ask, does not overcharge. I'm gonna then ask him for recommendations for possibly other service areas, because these people, they know each other, they network with each other, and then somebody that's doing a good job for you is not going to recommend somebody that they don't feel that they could like put their name out for them. So they're going to also recommend another high quality person. That's what it's been in my situation. Now, as far as that was all I said, maintenance, but that was pretty much repair. Maintenance things are things that I would keep on a schedule. I have a schedule, and I pretty much stick to that schedule, whether I'm getting things done service once a year or once a quarter or whatever that item needs that needs to be maintained, whatever is recommended for that item. Okay, and then the third system is the money and the records. So this is how I collect my rent and then how I keep the records. So as far as the rent collection, there are a lot of methods these days and ways that you can collect rent. Down from PayPal to Zelle or Zeely, however you pronounce it, Apple Pay, Venmo. There are so many like electronic payment ways that are available these days. When I first got into real estate, one of the things that I really did not want to do, and I was pretty much adamant that I don't want to do this, is going around and collecting rent checks. I know that seems kind of crazy because that's the whole bread and butter is getting rent checks, but I did not want to be the person to physically have to go to the person and ask them, where's your rent? That just does not fit my skill set, did not fit what I wanted to use with my time. So I always automatically set my properties up where the tenant I won't say automatically pay, because that's another option. You could have them do like an ACH, set that up where they could take it directly out of their account and put it into yours. However, I don't do that. Mine is mainly simple. I have 3 units. I give the tenants, each of my units has an account. So I gave the tenant the account number, and I tell them to either direct deposit into the account, so they can go up to a bank and directly deposit it into the account, or they can set it up some electronic way that allows them to deposit money into accounts. So that's what I've done with mine. It's because I have 3 units. If I had more than that, and if I did not have an account per rental unit, I might not have set that up that way. But that's what I set up when I initially started, and I have had no issues with setting it up this way. They don't have access to the account where they can check the balance. They can't do anything other than make deposits into this account. So that has served me well for the rent collection. Okay, and then the record keeping. For the record keeping, I'm pretty much just doing Excel spreadsheets. That's what I'm doing. When I make a payment or something goes out of the account, I make sure I record it. And I pretty much on the 20th of the month is where I do my bill pay and do my reconciliations I reconcile things that happened in the previous month, and then I pay things that are for the next month. So on the 20th of the month, I am paying my mortgage payments to these properties going into the next month, and then I'm reconciling any expenses that I had to pay for, I said the previous month, but for the previous month, previous month. And that's pretty much, I'm reconciling these payments, looking at my account, and then inputting them into an Excel spreadsheet. Now, the way that I set my Excel spreadsheet up, I can probably try to insert a picture of that. The way that I'm setting my Excel spreadsheet up is pretty much identical to I want to say when you do your taxes on that section, I want to say Schedule E. I'm not a tax person, so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I set my spreadsheet up so that I'm tracking the payments based on how I have to report the expenses and the income on my taxes. And so that's pretty much it of how I set that up. And I'll show you an example here. But so I do want to say this. This is the first year that I had that I had a tax professional do my taxes. If you were dealing with rental property or even anything outside of just your W-2 work, that it's probably in your best interest to have the professionals work their magic. And I'm going to tell you this story. It's a little embarrassing, but it might help somebody else out. So prior to this year, this tax season, I had been doing it myself. And I want to say the last 2 years, we've actually owed taxes. And I just took that as, okay, well, we're making this. Okay, I can understand that. This kind of in stride. Okay, I'm going to owe taxes this year. But this particular year, the complexity of my taxes got so much where I was like, I cannot handle this anymore. I need to seek the professionals. And then when I had did my taxes myself, it was saying that I owed like crazy, like $7,000. I was like, no. So anyway, I outsourced it, and the tax professional worked her magic. I don't know what she did. I'm sure it was all very legal and magical, because instead of us having to owe $7,000, we got a tax refund. I should have just left that to the professionals in the first place. So I do want to say that leads me to this. With all the systems, if you're going to self-manage that you have in place, if you know something is completely outside of your realm, outside of your skill set, not just saying like a skill set that you have, but even like a skill set that you're willing to learn, go to the professionals. As I stated earlier in the video, I have 3 units, and 2 of them I just outsourced to have a property manager handle those 2 units. And so if you guys are interested in a video on my decision on to have a property manager handle the units versus me self-manage the units and what went into that decision process, just let me know in the comments below, and I will definitely do a video, and maybe even include in there things to look out for or things to look for in your property manager to make sure that you're getting a great one. Okay, I hope that this helped you out by just sharing some of the systems that I use. I hope it was you were able to follow along with it, and that it's going to be beneficial to you if you are looking to invest in real estate and also to self-manage your properties. But I want to say all the best to you in your health, in your finances, in your relationship, and in your contribution to this world.